It's Marissa here with Little House Living. I just wanted to give you an updated tour today of my garden. It is the beginning of August, so this is kind of the middle of the season. So if you haven't watched my first video, you might want to check that out because it will make more sense watching this one to see what's growing and where I have things. But we're going to start in the greenhouse today. I'm going to try to do the whole garden in one tour and maybe speed it on a little bit so it's not quite so long. So come on with me and let me show you what I'm growing. So we are inside the greenhouse, and these are my peach trees. I have 4. They're growing very, very well. They've actually reached the top of my shade cloth, which we're doing a different shade cloth next year, so I'm not too worried about it. These trees started out at about 5 feet tall this spring, and I would say they're about 8 to 9 feet tall now. And this is their second year. I have 2 white peaches and 2 yellow peaches. So as you can see, we did put up shade cloth. We suspended it from the ceiling for this year, and the shade cloth that I bought does not fit very well, so it bows down really bad. We're gonna get something different for next year. It works to keep the majority of the sun out of here during the day as it gets overhead, but it just doesn't fit. So it is functioning this year, but we're just gonna get something else for next year. I've started collecting some coffee bags. We buy and sell coffee in bulk, and so I have access to all of these bags. So I've started laying them on the floor as just some ground cover for now, until I can get something else or put something else in here. So over here is my peppers and tomatoes. I'm not sure if these were planted when I made the last video. I'll have to go back and look, but I bought these as little starts on clearance a month ago and planted these in here a month ago. And that is in the Shop With Me video, which I will link if you want to check that out. So all of these plants were on clearance. They were really cheap. And so we decided to try them out in the greenhouse just because I have extra space in here this year. So I have 4 of these sweet habanero peppers, which sounds really weird because habaneros aren't sweet, but these are supposed to be sweet, so they will turn red and are supposed to be more of a sweet pepper. The plants are super healthy and they look really good. These are the nicest peppers I've ever grown by far. I think they definitely love the heat in the greenhouse. And then I also have some of the cherry bomb peppers, which I'm hoping these will get a little bit more productive and we can pickle those. So those are waiting to turn red as well. And then in the back here, I do have some determinate tomato plants that I bought. I think these are just Celebrity. They haven't started producing any tomatoes yet, but they do have blossoms on them, which we've been self-pollinating. So yeah, the plants look really good on those. The leaves are really nice. I did trim them up just a little bit because they were kind of hitting the ground, but I have 4 of those along the back here. And then this back wall is the indeterminate tomatoes. I got some Cherokee purples here. This is an Indigo Sun, I think. It's like a yellow purple tomato. I don't remember what those are. I think they're more Cherokee purples, probably. Anyway, so one thing, oh, and then I have 2 more in the front. These are paste tomato. I also bought those on clearance and they're not looking super great, but they do have blossoms on them, so we'll see what happens. So I had my husband put this board up here above the window, and then we just put, I don't even know what these are, some little hook things that he found. And we tied the tomatoes up with twine It probably should have been done before I did it because they've kind of got too many stems going on, but it's okay, we're gonna work with it. And then I bought these little tomato clips that are keeping it attached to the string, so that's how I'm keeping them up. It's working really well. And I have a different plan in mind for next year. Like I said, we've had to self-pollinate these because they're inside the greenhouse, and even though I have the window open and the other side open, they're just not getting real pollinated. Obviously, I do have some tomatoes on, but they could do better. So I've got a different plan for a different greenhouse for next year. And then this greenhouse will become just the orchard, which is what it was meant to be in the first place. Here's one of my little fig trees. I have 2 of them in here. We just planted these this year, and I think they look really nice. So I would like to plant some more fig trees. I have the 2 that are in here, and then I have this whole, let me pan around here. I have this whole middle section here, the peach trees are over there, that I still am gonna plant with trees next year. And then we're also gonna have grapevines in here on trellises of some grapes, some table grapes that we can't grow in our climate. So that's the plan for next year. It's not gonna have any of this stuff, but this stuff worked as great as fillers until I can buy some more trees next year. So this is my hydroponic table. I grew kale on it, which I've pulled, and then I'm growing cucumbers, which you can see have taken over the world. Next year, things I'm gonna do differently. No cucumbers in the hydroponics. They grow really well, they've been producing really well. It is a massive mess. And the hydroponics thing takes a ton of water to keep them going. They really need to be in like a Beto bucket system. But like I said, this is what I just tried this year. I am not good at growing cucumbers. Now I am. Now I know that they just need more water. So I am watering this still, but we're just kind of letting the rest of it finish up with these little picklers. They've been really yummy. And then there's some slicers in the back. We're just gonna kind of let it finish up here in the next couple weeks. I'm gonna tear everything out of here, and then this table is coming in the house, and I'm going to run the hydroponics in the house with some lettuce seed and basil seed for the winter. So that's the plan for this disaster. It works fine. It is not the best setup for sure. All right, let's head outside to the perennial part of the garden and then in the main part. All right, we are now in the perennial part of the garden. I would say not a lot has changed. This stuff is obviously growing. It looks really nice, but it is really hard to see because it's half shaded and half sunny in here. So I'll just go over this really quickly. I did this in my last video. So there's 3 swales here. They're covered in wood chips, and then they're covered in strawberry plants, which are overly luscious. They look really good. The beds also have currants. These are black currants. They have honeyberries. There's some mulberries that are attempting to get going over there. We've got plums, and then in the back row we've got June berries. Everything is looking really nice so far. Everything's doing really good. These are the only 3 swales I have in this garden this year. Next year we're gonna go ahead and try to get more going in here and cover up the rest of this grassy area with this plastic in between. I think that's gonna be our plan, but who knows, it could change over the winter. But so far that's the idea. I would like this just to be a perennial garden. I do not want annuals in here. So we'll go over now to the bed that I did plant with annuals this year. So this bed has the rest of my lettuce. It's got some peppers that I think one of my children came and pulled all the tops off, so they're not doing a whole lot. I think there is a couple down here that's got some. These are mini bell peppers. We'll see if they actually do anything, but compared to the ones in the greenhouse, these look really sad. But I do have lettuce in here. I've got a row here and then a row down there. I had kale in the middle. But I have flea beetles really bad, so I had to pull out all the kale because they were just decimating that. This lettuce has done really, really well for me. Haven't liked the Merlot as well, and it's just starting to bolt now. This is the Lovelock lettuce. It's been producing for us all summer. I haven't seen it bolt at all. We just keep on cutting it, and then it keeps coming back. We cut it in the morning while it's still nice and cool, because if we cut it later in the day, then it just gets super wilty and gross. But yeah, we've had lettuce all summer so far with that, and it's August, so I'm really happy with that seed. It's produced really well outside. And then down here at the end, this is supposed to be like a mini cucumber. I think it's doing something, but I don't know. And then I've got 2 chocolate cherry tomatoes out here that I don't know why that one's so small. This one's really big and it's grown up here. They're covered, but nothing is ripe yet. So we're just watching and waiting. All right, let's head into the main part of the garden. Hang up my jacket here. Thought I was gonna need it this morning and I don't. All right, so changes since last time. I took out all of the peas that were in here that were growing up the sides of these hog panels, and we put shade cloth over the top. And this shade cloth has helped tremendously. The plants look way better. It actually stays moist all day, even on these 80 and 90 degree days. Huge difference. I highly recommend that. And I can link where I got these shade cloths in the description, so you guys can check that out. So this bed used to be a garlic bed. It is no more. The garlic has been all harvested. I planted carrots in this bed, I want to say maybe about a month ago. Carrots take a really long time to germinate. As you can see, they're coming up. They look a little thick, but that's okay. They look really nice. And then over here, I did plant some Brussels sprouts. I don't know if they're going to make it or not. My Brussels sprouts and my cabbage has just been taken over by the flea beetles. So I did spray this with some neem oil, and it seemed to get rid of them for the last couple days. So we will wait and see. But the carrots I planted as a crop that I am going to try and overwinter. So we're going to cover this bed for the winter because I know that these aren't going to get done before it freezes. Our first frost date is in about a month. It could be a little bit longer than that, but that's what I have to plan on. So we're going to go ahead and cover this bed, and we're going to see if these carrots can make it through the winter. So my peas, I pulled all the peas. I had peas growing up the sides of these hog panels, and when I came in here to pull them off, I realized that they were regrowing from the bottom. So instead of pulling them off, I actually cut them off, and the peas are all regrowing from the bottom. They have peas on them, they have blossoms on them. I don't know what they're doing, but we're just gonna leave them go. All right, and in this bed, same for the peas on here. I cut them off and then they're just regrowing there. I have a wild rose problem. So that's what those are, and I haven't had my gloves out here to pull them out yet. So this bed, let's see, this bed had turnips in it. So once we were done with all the turnips, I went ahead and replanted this bed. It now has 2 of the, we call them the spaceship squash, the scallop squash plants growing in here, and those are doing really good. And then it also has a patch of Swiss chard over there. And then this was greens. I think they might have got fried on one of the really hot days because what's coming up in there kind of looks like weeds to me. So I may have to redo something with that, but otherwise I am just trying to make use of this bed while I have it. And then I still have the beets over here. The beets we've just been pulling as needed, so as we've been eating them. I don't know if I have enough beets to put away in the root cellar. I might, but these are a type of red beets from North Dakota. They are growing really well. They're not quite as big as my other beets, but they grow nice. The greens are really nice on them. They're really pretty and have this like pretty stripe in the middle. So that's that bed. And like the first one, this has a shade cloth that's going over the top of it. Works really good. The beets no longer look like they're completely dead in the middle of the day. So I'm gonna back up here so you can see what we've done in this section. So this is a shade cloth that we put up to look like a circus tent. I put up these shade cloths on the hog panels and they've been working so well, we decided to go ahead and cover the middle of the garden as well. I only had a smaller shade cloth, so it doesn't quite cover the whole middle, but it's working super well. I am not having to water as much. I love it so far. Let's actually go back to the back bed first. All right, this is my cabbage, which is slow in coming, but it does have heads in there and it looks pretty good. And then this is my Brussels sprouts, which are also looking really good. Lots of little Brussels sprouts on there. And then these are my beans. These are supposed to be bush beans. I do not know why they are vining out. These are the pink beans that I grow, or the red beans. I've never had this happen with them before, so I'm not sure what they're doing, but they do finally have little beans on them. So I went ahead and I put these trellises up here. These are just a T-post, and then I strung twine back and forth and just am wrapping the beans through it as they are growing taller, but they look excellent. I just don't know why they're vining. All right, and then over here in this bed, this is my beets. I did replant this. It was looking really sparse, so I replanted that. We've got some beets that are ready, some that will be ready probably in another month or so. The carrots I didn't replant because I planted those in another bed. They were looking pretty sparse as well. But what I did instead, it's looking a little like it fell over this morning, was I planted some radishes in here and some more Swiss chard. So that stuff is all coming up kind of in these empty spots now. But I thought I might as well take advantage of this being in the shade and having the drip line and not just leave these big empty spots in the bed anymore. So we've got really nice beets in here. These are mostly the candy stripe beets. You can see they're really big. That's my hand. They look really nice. Those are our favorite kind of beets. So I have the 2 tunnel beds over here, or they used to be tunnels in the early spring. Those were the broccoli and the cauliflower. All of that is done. I've pulled it out. And then what I did is I went ahead and I replanted more cabbage and more Brussels sprouts in there. Now the flea beetles have completely just decimated those plants. So later this week we are going to pull the rest of them out and just give up on those. I'm gonna pull all these wood chips out because I feel like that's half the battle right there. I'm gonna redo these beds. I'm gonna put some new soil in them, some new compost, and then plant something in there that we can overwinter. It probably is just gonna be greens. But this stuff is just not doing well, and I'm really tired of trying to fight the flea beetles this year. All right, and then my last bed is this one here. This is my beans. Let me get a little bit closer to it. These are the yellow wax beans, which we really like as well. They've been producing really well, even for this little patch I have to pick every other day, and I've canned up one batch, and I'm about ready to can up another batch just from this little section here. Partway through this last month, I went ahead and I interplanted some more beans in the middle of these rows. So you can see the little beans coming up here. I think they'll have enough time to get done before it gets cold, but it was just kind of an experiment. Those ones are kind of little. These ones are a little bit bigger. So we'll see. I just had some bean seed left and I put it in the ground there. So we'll find out if that works or not. And then last but not least is my zucchini and squash. And this stuff is taking its sweet time this year. We've had a couple, but not very many. So I have started hand pollinating the flowers, just because I don't know if that's the problem. I mean, I am, like, right now I can see bees around here, but they are just growing super, super slow. So we're doing what we can here to make that work. I really love, we've had some of this striped zucchini that I started growing already, and it's really nice. It's much less moist than like a regular zucchini, so we really like that. And I will eat this summer squash any day. So that is my garden update so far. Here's our crazy circus tent. Just goes to show sometimes you have to do weird things in the garden, but they actually might work. So anyway, this is what our garden is looking like. We've been pretty happy with it. Like I said in the last video, this is not a canning garden. I didn't plan on canning from it. We just had a little bit too much going on this summer, and I didn't want to tend that large of a garden. I'm still canning. It's just stuff that we're getting from our co-op instead. But it's been fun to have a smaller garden because I feel like I have more of a chance to experiment, which is pretty cool. Like, I don't know that I would have thought of doing this shade cloth, but it's worked so well. I'm really happy that we did it. Anyway, that is the garden update for this month. I will try to do another one here at the end of the summer, so that you can see kind of what we're putting together for winter and what that's going to look like, and then how we start kind of cleaning up these beds.